Every morning, coffee feels simple. Brew it, sip it, move on. But that simplicity is an illusion. Coffee is one of the most complex consumer products on Earth, involving far more coordination than most people realize. Before a single bean reaches your cup, it passes through 8 to 12 different organizations, crosses multiple borders, and travels over 5,000 miles. This complexity isn't accidental. It's the product of geography, economics, and a global system designed to extract value at nearly every step, except where the coffee is grown. Tracing coffee from farm to cup reveals more than a supply chain. It reveals how modern global trade turns distance, specialization, and information gaps into profit. The illusion of simplicity. Coffee marketing thrives on a comforting image. A farmer on a misty hillside, carefully tending coffee plants destined directly for your mug. The implication is intimacy and fairness, almost a personal relationship between grower and consumer. In reality, very few products are separated from their producers by more layers than coffee. Most people imagine a short chain: farmer, roaster, store. The real chain is far longer. Coffee routinely passes through local collectors, processing stations, national exchanges, exporters, shipping companies, importers, warehouses, brokers, roasters, distributors, and retailers. Each step takes a small slice of value. By the end, farmers, who shoulder nearly all the risk, receive only around 10 to 13% of the final retail price. What makes this system unusual isn't just its length, but how effectively it is hidden. Industries like oil or pharmaceuticals openly acknowledge their complexity. Coffee, by contrast, sells itself as rustic and direct, even while operating one of the most fragmented supply networks in global commerce. Following a bean from the highlands to your cup. To understand the system, follow a single coffee bean grown in Ethiopia's highlands, one of coffee's historical birthplaces. The journey begins on a small farm, often no larger than a few acres. Most coffee farmers are smallholders, producing modest harvests that are impossible to export independently. Once the coffee cherries are picked, farmers usually sell them quickly to local collectors. They have little choice. Coffee is perishable, farmers need immediate cash, and they lack storage or transport infrastructure. Collectors aggregate cherries from dozens or hundreds of farmers, transporting them to processing stations. Here, the coffee is transformed from fruit into green beans through either wet or dry processing. This step is critical. Fermentation time, drying conditions, and moisture levels heavily influence flavor and quality. Processing adds real value, but it also shifts control away from farmers. In countries like Ethiopia, processed coffee often passes through a commodity exchange where it is graded and sold. In theory, this creates transparent pricing. In practice, farmers have already sold their coffee long before quality premiums are discovered, meaning higher prices rarely flow back to the source. Exporters then take over. They handle quality certification, pest inspections, shipping documentation, insurance, and international logistics. Coffee shipments require an extraordinary amount of paperwork: bills of lading, phytosanitary certificates, certificates of origin, quality reports, and customs declarations, often 15 to 20 documents per shipment. From there, the beans cross oceans, usually spending 6 to 8 weeks at sea before arriving in ports like Hamburg or Antwerp. Specialized importers manage customs clearance, storage, and quality testing. Coffee may sit in climate-controlled warehouses for months, while traders wait for favorable market conditions. Only after this does roasting begin, the stage most consumers associate with coffee making. Roasters transform stable green beans into aromatic roasted coffee, define flavor profiles, and build brand narratives. This is also where the largest share of profit is captured. Finally, distributors move coffee to retailers, cafes, and supermarkets. By the time you take your first sip, the bean has completed a journey that rivals historical spice routes in scale and complexity. Who adds value and who captures it? Every link in coffee's supply chain performs a function. Aggregation solves scale problems. Processing stabilizes and improves quality. Exporters and importers manage regulatory and logistical hurdles. Roasters create consistency and branding. The system exists because these services matter. But value creation and value capture are not the same thing. Farmers bear nearly all production risks: weather volatility, pests, disease, theft, fluctuating yields, and climate change. Yet they receive the smallest and least predictable share of revenue, often between $1.20 and $1.80 per pound for coffee that sells for $8 to $12 at retail. Intermediaries, by contrast, operate with predictable margins. Exporters commonly capture 10 to 15%. Processors may take 20 to 30%. Roasters often retain 30 to 40% of the final price, despite assuming comparatively little risk. This imbalance is not driven by malice alone. It is built into the structure of global trade, where control over processing, information, finance, and access to markets determines who profits. Why coffee became so complicated? Coffee's complexity did not emerge randomly. It evolved because geography, economics, and history made it profitable. Coffee only grows within a narrow climate band near the equator, often in mountainous regions far from major ports and consumer markets. These areas typically lack infrastructure, capital, and access to global finance. Meanwhile, most coffee is consumed thousands of miles away in wealthy, industrialized countries. This geographic mismatch creates opportunities for intermediaries who specialize in bridging gaps, transporting, financing, certifying, and marketing coffee across borders. Scale mismatches reinforce the system. Most farmers produce far less than the volume needed to justify direct export, making aggregation unavoidable. Information asymmetry plays a crucial role. Farmers rarely know real-time global prices or how their coffee will ultimately be graded. Even when information exists, farmers often lack storage or alternative buyers, forcing them to sell early at fixed prices. Finance deepens dependency. Coffee income is seasonal, while household expenses are constant. Collectors and processors often provide advance payments or credit, tying farmers to specific buyers regardless of market conditions. Each layer makes economic sense on its own. Together, they form a system that is efficient, resilient, and deeply unequal. Coffee as a model of modern global trade. Coffee's supply chain is not an anomaly, it is a blueprint. The same dynamics appear in lithium mining, cocoa, rare earth elements, and semiconductor manufacturing. Geography concentrates production. Specialized knowledge concentrates profits. Complexity protects incumbents. Recent disruptions have exposed how fragile these systems can be. During the COVID-19 pandemic, shipping costs surged by several 100%. Delays rippled through ports and warehouses. Retail prices rose, but farmers often saw little relief as their costs increased faster than incomes. Climate change now threatens coffee's geographic foundations. Rising temperatures and unpredictable rainfall are already reducing yields in many traditional growing regions, pushing production to higher altitudes and increasing costs. The supply chain must adapt without fundamentally changing who controls it. Technology promises transparency. QR codes, blockchain tracking, and satellite monitoring can reveal where coffee comes from and how it is produced. Yet these tools often favor large players with digital infrastructure, risking new forms of exclusion rather than true democratization. Direct trade models attempt to shorten the chain by connecting farmers directly with roasters. Some succeed at small scales. Many struggle with logistics, financing, quality control, and consistency, the very challenges intermediaries evolved to solve. What your coffee really represents. Your morning coffee is not just a beverage. It is the endpoint of a global system refined over centuries to move value across distance while concentrating power. It demonstrates how modern trade can appear simple on the surface while operating as a deeply engineered machine underneath. Understanding this does not require guilt or cynicism. It requires clarity. Coffee shows how complexity itself becomes a commodity. how systems grow not just to move goods efficiently, but to manage risk, control information, and capture margins. The next time you drink coffee, remember that you are tasting the final output of one of humanity's most elaborate supply chains, a system that connects small farms to global finance, local labor to international logistics, and everyday habits to the invisible machinery of global trade. Once you see that, it becomes harder to believe that coffee, or any global product, is ever truly simple. Before you finish that last sip, remember this: your morning coffee isn't just a drink, it's the endpoint of one of the most complex systems on Earth. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden machinery behind everyday things, like and subscribe for more stories that explain how the world actually works.